And I'm up here. Welcome to the School of Engineering, one of our active learning classrooms, which takes a look getting used to, but it's perfect for stuff like this, and we actually got special dispensation from the dean for us to use this, because normally what we do with this room is it's only for classes from 9 to 12, and then 12 to 11 it's for student use, for open student use. So you can come here and study if you want, normally afternoon. But for us, we got dispensation to kick everybody out and use it for this because this is what it was designed for, and I called in a couple of favors. So here's what we're going to do today. There is food that's going to be served in a different room, but you're not allowed to go eat until you leave me with an assignment. And so we're going to go through some introductory stuff. I'm going to give you an exercise to do, and as soon as I see that your team is done with your assignment, you're allowed to go eat. And since Ira Winston just walked in, you are not allowed to bring food back here, right? And he was just waiting for me to say that, so now he can actually go. As you can imagine, an awful lot of time and resources went into this room, and it's just not for food. It is for active learning and participation, and that's what we're going to do here. So what I want to do is, this workshop really is about idea generation and team formation. It's designed to work hand in hand with the Penn Innovation Conference. So I guess it's a kickoff event for the Penn Innovation Conference, or at least I think it is. But our objective today is to just give you some food for thought, some of which is directly applicable to the Innovation Conference and idea generation and Pennvention if you wanted to do that. Some of it might be applicable to other classes that you're dealing with, and some of it, quite frankly, could be applicable just for life in general. So we've got a very diverse audience from across the university. We've got lots of people. I know some people, how many people can't stay for the whole thing? Just want to get to the exercise and then go get some food? Okay? And that's fine. Look, come and go as you need to go, but as much as you possibly can, it's really important that you participate. So I'm going to actually change up what I'm planning on the slide because we've got so many people that are going. Instead of groups of 5, I'm going to ask you to get into groups of 7. And at least that'll leave us a little leeway if your group tends to leave some people. But don't do that yet. And don't worry about forming your group because I'm going to make you count off so you don't know who's going to be in your group anyway. Okay, so let's talk about the 4 things that I want to cover with you. And 3 of these we're going to do before you go get food. And then the 4th one is pretty much up to you. I'll give you all the tools so you can do this and continue it after the workshop if you want. But for the most part, we're going to cover 3 here. You can go eat, and then I'm happy to stay, and we can cover the 4th if you want. So it's a focus on what do you like, who do you want on your team. It's talking about what ideas are good and sharing with you some of my fetishes and fixations in terms of tech ideas. And then talking a little bit about how you, both as an individual and as a team, can come up with ideas. Notice I'm not saying good ideas or bad ideas, because I don't care yet. I'm more interested in you just coming up with ideas. Then we'll talk about how you might actually choose an idea to come up with. So let's first focus on team. And this is going to have fun with video because I'm going to be like all over the place, but that's part of the issue. See, Ira walks out and then it blacks out. I want him to see. We're still ironing out the bugs in his classroom. I want him to see that this happens. Ira, listen, you know, it blacked out. Yay, says the blacked out. Can't fix it. Okay, so this will be interesting, but that's okay because the first thing I wanted to do is ask you guys a question anyway. And that question is, let me see if I can get the source back here. Or not. Who do you want on your teams? Has everybody here worked on a team for a class project or some extracurricular activity? Who's worked on a team? Yeah. Raise your hand, okay? And we all know it's a love-hate relationship in terms of teamwork and team projects. So, if you had your druthers and you knew everything that you needed to know about all the possible people, who do you want on a team to do anything? I don't care what it is, idea generation, innovation. Who do you want on your team?
People who have the skills.
Skills. And obviously we've got to figure out what skills we're looking for, but we want skills.
Passion.
Sorry? Passion. Thank you for saying that, and thank you for saying it early. Usually it doesn't come up till later.
Oh, you want a leadership abilities?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
We're going to put that there because sometimes I think we at Penn think we all have to be the leaders and therefore there's nobody actually doing any work. So every once in a while we need some chiefs as well as our leaders, but we'll give you that. This side of the room, what else do we want?
Reliability.
In what way? Tell me about reliability.
Knowing that you can count on them.
Okay. So I'm gonna change your word a little bit. And so certainly reliability is important, but I'm gonna put accountability. It's what I try to teach my children, but I think I've actually failed. I want them to feel like it's their responsibility, right? Even if they feel like, hey, this person didn't do this and this person didn't do that, you want to be held accountable and you want to hold other people accountable. What else? What else do you want in your team?
Creative and open-minded.
Oh, two very different things. So we'll talk about creativity and open-minded. Why do you want somebody that's open-minded?
Because you want that person to be open to different ideas to different people on the team.
Okay, so this will be something that'll be important for us, really hard. You spend your entire career in education learning how to rip stuff apart, tear it down. Innovation and ideation is about building things up. This is something that does not come naturally to you if you've spent 15 years in school learning how to criticize and analyze and rip things apart. What else do we want? I'm searching for another really important word.
Adaptability.
Adaptability. Okay, that's pretty good. Not the one I'm looking for, but I'm still searching. We'll give you another couple of shots and then I'm going to go for it. I like the passion piece. That usually doesn't come out. Sorry, go ahead. Responsibility. So we'll kind of tie that with reliability, accountability, and we'll add responsibility, right? That they will say what they do what they say. Yep.
Someone you don't mind spending a lot of time with.
Yeah, because this is really torturous. And so we want to make sure that we actually have, when we're interviewing for the Wharton Global Consulting Practicum, we have a question we always like to ask the interviewers. If you were stuck on an airplane with them for 10 hours, could you survive or would you want to throw them out without a parachute? Really important question. Sorry?
Dedication.
Dedication. This is all good. There's another really important thing that we're looking for. Yeah.
Hard worker.
Hardworking, right? Because you don't want to have to work hard, so it's good to have other people that are working their asses off. Yep.
Communication.
Communication is good, so we've got hardworking. There's one really important one that I'm still looking for. Why is it that you think many times you start businesses with family members?
Trust.
Who said it? I heard it first. Okay? Probably the single most important thing that you want in somebody that you're working with. Now, trust is going to be related to a lot of these aspects, and these are all really important. And now's the time when I actually want this thing to sort of come up and actually start working. So we'll see if, oh, there we go. Okay. But this becomes one of the single most important things. In fact, I'd say it's the top three most important things. Now, a lot of what you said, you want to kind of come together. So this idea of leadership, hopefully it's less about leadership and more about common vision, common direction, common goals, even if you're coming at them from very different ways or different angles. But I really want you to think about the importance of trust. Now, we're in a room of, I don't know, 50, 60 people. Probably most of you are strangers, and so your ability to trust anybody in this room is slim to none. It's a little bit of trust that you can gather, mostly because you all go to Penn, I think. Anybody here go to Penn? Some program or other? So there's a level of trust that you say, hey, you're part of my community, and so I can trust you there. But when it comes to working with teams, trust is really the critical aspect. Now, what's interesting, and notice this fifth bullet that I've got about diversity and complementarity. So we talked about skills, we talked about some of these aspects. But this is the important part, and this is why it's critical that when we do team exercises, and you'll see that we do some individual work as well, we need diversity. Diversity is where we're going to allow different perspectives, different experiences. So certainly capabilities and a broad experience base are important, but teams that are complementary in nature can draw from the strengths and, quite frankly, the weaknesses of different people. So that becomes a really important aspect of it. Okay, so that's kind of the first one. Just think about that. Not so much for tonight, because you're not going to have time. We're not going to spend an hour for you to grill everybody and do personal interviews. We're just going to do team making the old-fashioned way. We're just going to count off and do it. But now I want to talk a little bit about what makes ideas good. I'm going to share with you some things. So everybody knows Kickstarter? All right, so I'm sort of a Kickstarter obsessive. So I'm going to show you a couple of things that I've gotten from Kickstarter. I chose the small one so I could actually bring it to you. And I just want to get your thoughts on these as we go along. So the first one is nanotips. Anybody heard of nanotips? Okay, what are nanotips?
if I remember correctly, you can put them on gloves and you can use them in winter.
Yeah, so anybody have gloves that have E-tips or some sort of selective finger? Okay, so the idea behind this is it's like nail polish. And it's nail polish that makes any glove. There's one for fabric gloves and there's one for leather or vinyl gloves. And it makes any glove sort of E-tip compatible. Interesting idea, came out on Kickstarter, did pretty well. But I just thought this was really interesting because all the e-gloves that I saw was never very good. And this one you can kind of be very precise in where you put it. It works better on the leather ones than it does on the cloth. So there's a whole issue of effectiveness, but an interesting idea. Now, as you know from Kickstarter, the objective of Kickstarter is you're trying to raise funding so that you can deliver this product to the market and also get a sense of how much interest is there in the market. So what I love Kickstarter for almost more than anything else is it's one of the most effective ways to market test ideas. Really good thing to do, market test ideas, okay? So they had 2,400 backers, they raised about $72,000, which is more than they were looking for, and that was pretty cool. This is one of the newest ones. I don't have this yet because it hasn't been delivered. Anybody seen this? Sensel Morph? So this I think is kind of interesting. I'm not sure if it's going to take off. It's gotten some good traction in Kickstarter, but the idea behind this is a new input device. It's a multi-sensory input device that can use anything on it. So what's kind of cool is you basically determine what the function of the input device is by an overlay that you put on it and accompanying software and API. And so if you want just standard, I want to interact with my software applications, you just use it plain. It's really interesting because it's got all sorts of sensors that work much more effectively than a lot of the multi-touch sensors that are going on now. But you can put keyboard overlays and have it be music. You can put DJ overlays and have it be a DJ system. There's all sorts of other cool stuff that's going on with that. So it's kind of interesting. Hasn't come out yet. We'll see what it's like when it actually comes out. 1,500 backers, $417,000. Okay, so we're kind of upping the dollar amounts that we're going here. So now we're going to go to one which is near and dear to my heart. It's called Lumio, and this is it. So anybody seen this before? Okay, and I know some of you might have been here last year, you saw this before. Okay, so this is Lumio. Are you ready? Whoa. Whoa. Okay, why did you say whoa?
It's fantastic. I mean,
why is it fantastic? It's just a freaking light and some plastic.
it's not common.
It's uncommon. Why else?
Surprising.
Well, unexpected. It's surprising. Okay, so some of us just like to be surprised, okay? Nothing so surprising about a nail polish that gives your gloves E-tips. And the input device is a little hard to do. This has an immediate visceral reaction. Now, how many of you would pay $300 for this? Okay, so when I put price in the mix, idea becomes much less interesting to you. How many of you, I don't know, what's the price point? What would you pay to have this? $10. $50. Anybody going up? More than 50? I'm not auctioning it off, by the way. Because they are about 1,500. Now what's really cool is if we had a room that had something metal, this is not metal, but it's actually magnetic. So you can stick it on magnetic walls and all sorts of things. So it can do cool stuff. But this is really important, because if we say, is this a good idea? If you're just evaluating it on, does it have a cool initial impact? Is it surprising? Is it interesting? Is it beautiful? Yes. Is it a $300 light? Probably not, right? Probably for a much smaller group. And so this is important because now we have to begin to think that ideas in and of themselves have no meaning unless you put context of a market around them. Okay, so we'll do a couple of others and then we'll just move on just because these are kind of fun. So this is the Lumio, and it raised over $500,000. So there were enough people that thought it was cool enough that they were willing to fund it. Everybody know about Pebbles? Pebbles pretty cool. I'm going to show you two Pebble campaigns. So the first one, first smartwatch, okay? And yes, I've got every Pebble that's been manufactured, and I'm still wearing my Apple Watch. I sort of wear different ones on different days. But what I love about Pebble is they finally figured out their positioning. And their positioning is they're not designed to be the highest tech, highest design. They're basically going to be the Swatch of e-watches. Now, how many of you think e-watches are just silly? Okay. Most people do right now. It's like, it's so what? You can't really do much with them. And it might change, you know, maybe in a few years you might say, well, it's still kind of silly, but yeah, I bought one because everybody sort of has them. So this is about positioning, but from a Kickstarter point of view, they raised $10 million on their first campaign. They were beat out a little bit later, a couple of years, actually just a year ago, by this one. Anybody seen the coolest cooler? This one cracks me up. So Pebble Watch, right, smartwatch, high tech, all sorts of wicked cool stuff, sort of groundbreaking in design and electronics and component integration. And then this guy comes out with a cooler and makes $13 million on Kickstarter. It's just insane. Now what's so cool about this cooler? What makes it the coolest? How many of you own a cooler? Anybody own a cooler? Well, what do you like about your cooler?
I can take it to different places, it keeps my food cool.
Okay, and what else do you do? That's pretty much it. So what they did is they said, well, we can take it to other places, and they talk about how their wheels are more rugged and better than any other wheels. What else do you think is the obvious feature that they have, that they're touting? A blender, a built-in blender, right? With a 12-volt battery that's driving the blender, and you can't see it, but behind the grill, can charge your iPhone, has wireless Bluetooth speakers. When you open up the top, it's got LED lights to light up what's going on in the cooler. I mean, go watch the video. It's freaking hysterical. And what's fascinating about this campaign is the first time he launched it, it failed. He didn't hit the number of what his campaign was. They were trying to raise 50,000, and they only got about 30,000. He redid the video to focus not on just all the features, but pairing the benefits of what you had going on here with people just having a crazy good time. So he wasn't just saying, and it's got a built-in mixer. He was showing people drinking blender drinks and just looking like they were having more fun than you were. And so they hit 13 million, then Pebble came back with their next generation of the watch, and they raised over $20 million. And this is really cool because, again, what this is saying is not just, you think it's silly, but there are actually about 78,000 people who not only don't think it's silly, but most of them are willing to pay for another one, okay? So it's really trying to get an understanding of who your market is. Now, if you look at all of these things, each of you will associate with them or connect to them in different ways. Some of you think these are silly, some of you think that's cool, some of you think that's cool, but only at a much lower price. But this is a really important part, because ideas are just the starting point. These are products, okay? We're not talking about products today, we're talking about ideas. It's really hard work to take an idea and turn it into a product. So everybody can say, oh, a smartwatch. But choosing all of the features and pairing those with the benefits that are perceived as valuable by other people, it's really, really hard. So all we're going to do is focus on the ideas. And the reason that I say that this is important is you want to start with a good idea, what you consider a good idea, because it's so hard getting to the product. You need to have a sustained energy effort, and you need to try to just keep pursuing it and keep crafting it and keep trying to fit, and this is what we're going to talk about next, this product with some number of people that care about it enough that they're willing to pay for it. Okay? So when it comes to this, and you're starting with the idea, the single most important thing that we've got to do, and some of you might have seen Business Model Canvas. It's one of the most commonly used tools around the world now to sort of explore how to develop a company. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a variation of that, which just focuses on two elements of the Business Model Canvas. So we call it the Value Proposition Canvas. And I'm going to show you, or share with you, two versions, but we're going to focus on the second version tonight. The reason I'm showing you two versions is in my world, people tend to approach it. In my world is I teach engineering entrepreneurship. So I live in this building. My office is on the third floor. I also have a secondary appointment up at Wharton in the marketing department, but this is my home. And so most of our students and our faculty and engineers in general, they approach things this way. Come up with the science, craft that into a product or service offering, okay? And then figure out a way that you can navigate that to some customer group such that it meets a need that they have. Okay? It's a very fundamentally different approach than the second approach and what we're going to do with tonight, right? This approach starts with technology and then figures out how to craft that into a product and navigate that product to some customer base. Okay? Now, what's interesting is This is sort of an adaptation of this model that I put in because I just see people fundamentally approach this from these two different ways. Technologists and engineers tend to approach it this way. Business people, idea thinking people, ideation people, designers tend to focus on the exact opposite. They start with a customer, right? Some group of people. And these people have jobs to perform. And during the course of preparing for those jobs or doing those jobs, they have issues. Some things make them happy, some things make them sad. And so what they're trying to do is figure out, what's the problem I'm trying to solve for these people? Now, let me go find a solution. So, Sabra, if we come back to your issue, if you're living in R&D, you're version 1. You know, here's the science, and we're going to kind of figure out, does this solve some problem that people have, whether it's a disease or therapeutic need. But this is the way a lot of people approach it from a design thinking point of view, and this is the way we're going to approach it today. You still come back to that same core box in the middle, which is product market fit. But what you're doing in this case is you're starting with a problem, and you're coming up with a solution and designing a solution that solves that problem, hopefully better than anything else that anybody else has. Okay? But in both cases, you have to come up with this idea of product market fit. And product market fit is simply saying, you take a look at all my Kickstarter stuff, I want to carve out those people in here that say, you know what, for me, the nail polish nanotips is a better solution for my e-smartphone, e-tip glove use than anything else that I've seen. The design and the $300 for that Lumio light is the best solution for me. As you can imagine, that's not easy to do. But that's what we mean by product market fit, that you found something where somebody that values it enough that they're willing to pay you good money, and ultimately they're not going to make it important. Okay? So now we're going to focus on what you guys are going to be doing, which is how do you come up with the idea. And what I want to do is share with you actually many of these slides, but this one is probably the single most important slide that I share with companies with whom I'm consulting about innovation programs. Because they all say, let's get a group of people into a room, and we want you to come facilitate brainstorming exercises. And I say, and then what? Well, we just think there's going to be a great idea that comes out of that, and it's going to be a blockbuster, market-changing idea that's going to be worth billions of dollars. And the first thing I say to them is, wrong. And actually, I'm not interested if that's all you're going to do. Because innovation in this whole idea creation is part of a much longer process that involves a lot more than coming up with the idea. Because you have to do an awful lot of work to achieve product market fit. And then you have to do even more work to actually build a viable economic business around a product concept. Okay? So it's not about blinding flash of the obvious. If I put enough of the right people with all the mix of my team skills in the room, great things are going to magically happen. If you look at every company that you guys think of as unique or most innovative, behind those companies are a lot of people, a lot of culture, and a lot of process to the innovation. So we want to focus a little bit on the process. And so any of you that have done some design thinking in class, whether it's needs analysis, yeah, question? Oh yeah, okay. So you might have seen this. But I'm just going to share with you a couple of principles of design thinking. And remember, this is for that version 2, which is starting with a problem and navigating to a solution to achieve product market fit. Okay? So in design thinking, we sort of think of these 3 different phases, if you will. The first one is just setting the context. Okay? Because context is really important to give focus to the activities that you're doing. So I'm going to set context for you tonight. I'm going to hopefully make it relevant to you. But I'm going to kind of set your context in a really abbreviated fashion. The next phase is the one that everybody likes to focus on because it's the most fun. And this is the ideation part. The third one is the tough one. This is the one that companies usually fail on because they don't allocate the resources to the process required here. So, when you talk about inspiring or setting the context, it's about, and remember, we're talking about moving from people's problems to a solution. And so what we've got to figure out is what are the problems that people are having. So we need to sort of set the stage to put ourselves in a position where we can observe people and begin to see, oh, here are the problems they're having. Here's why they're having those problems. forming the insights that we can now take into the ideation phase. So we're going to spend a really brief time on that first inspire block. Then once we get into the ideate, we're actually now moving from the concrete back into the abstract, and now we're just coming up with ideas that somehow fit into the framework that we've set up. Okay? So this is the classic brainstorming exercise, and we'll do a brainstorming exercise. We are not going to focus at all on implementation today. So whether it's in the Penn Innovation Conference or other Weiss Tech House workshops that you guys have coming on, I'm going to do sort of the form insights and the brainstorming. And you guys can carry on for the third thing with somebody else that you convince to come in and do these things. Okay? So that's just where we're going to focus our point. And the way that I want to set the stage for you is to share with you my least favorite phrase that is always associated with innovation. Okay? Which is this crazy notion to think outside the box. And mostly the reason that I hate this is I don't know what it means, I don't understand it, and I certainly don't know how to throw a switch and do it. So the way that I frame this is, I actually want you to stay in your box. I just want you to define your box maybe a little bit differently, and I want you to share your boxes with other people, okay? Because each of your boxes is going to be slightly different. So there's lots of in the box and out of the box thinking, so you always have to have a couple of cute cartoons for this. But your box is defined by everything that we talk about there. Your background, the way you approach things, the experiences that you've had, the skills that you've built as a result of the experiences that you've had. You can certainly do some other things to look for sources of ideas, but when it comes to find a problem, develop a solution, this is firmly within your box. How many of you, and this always cracks me up, we do the Dropbox case in our Engineering Entrepreneurship 1 class. Now, I don't think we did it when you were doing it. So how many of you, Dropbox is the #1 preferred cloud storage service right now? How many of you use Dropbox more than anything else? It's really sad because this is a commentary on where Dropbox has fallen. How many of you use Google Drive as your primary cloud storage device? Okay. So how many of you at some point use Dropbox? Okay. So this is a whole, we don't have to have a discussion about strategy and market share stealing and all of that. Suffice it to say, Dropbox came about because Drew Houston, and if you've read the story, you've probably seen this, he basically was moving from computing device to computing device with a thumb drive. And if you forgot your thumb drive, you didn't have your data. And so the idea behind Dropbox was, wherever I am, as long as I've got access to the internet, I should have access to my files. Okay? It was a problem that he had. He came up with an unbelievably sophisticated solution for it, which from a technical point of view is far better and more advanced than Google Drive, or OneDrive, or Box, or any of the other ones that are there. But it's also a great example of how the best solution from a technology point of view doesn't always win. What wins?
Marketing.
Best product market fit wins. Why did you all flee from Dropbox and adopt Google Drive? Too hard to use? Pricing.
Like Google Drive is like integrated.
I live in Google Drive. Why should I have to use something else even if it's better?
Because the school uses Google, so it's very...
Yeah, because the context within which I find myself already has a deployed infrastructure. Okay? So this is what we mean by product market fit. Dropbox had and achieved product market fit, but it became less of a fit when there were other options available that provided those services and maybe more. Okay, so sources of ideas should come when you're going from find a problem, develop a solution, should come from your own box, right? And so we're going to focus on your own box today. Now, in order to do that, I want to share with you a couple of tools and a concept, right? And this is going to be important for you. So there's a big group of you in here. And we're going to alternate between capturing the creativity of the individual and then putting you in a team environment to exchange ideas. And then we're going to go back to the individual. And then we're going to go back to the team. Because one of the important things is when it comes to ideation, this idea of divergent thinking is incredibly valuable to the innovation process. Okay? It's really important to have people pulling from different boxes, different perspectives, different experiences. And sharing those. So why don't we do everything as a group? Why do we do some stuff as individuals?
Herd mentality.
Yeah, herd mentality is not good. It's actually a great infographic that Adam Grant tweeted about today. I don't know if anybody saw that. Adam Grant is up in the management department at Wharton. And I think it was a Business Insider or Business Week infographic about cognitive biases. And it's a really interesting way to look at all the ways that we are biased inappropriately that tend to squash it. So herd mentality is one of the reasons we like individuals. Why else? Think entrepreneurs.
You don't want to share our idea with people.
Yeah, which is actually a really bad idea. Because if you don't share your idea with people, you have no idea if you have product market fit. What you have is your opinion of whether or not the idea is good or not. And as I've learned a long time ago, my opinion is irrelevant, as is each of yours individually. The opinion that matters is the market. Yep.
Groups can sometimes be inefficient.
Yeah, so there's an efficiency issue. One person sitting alone, any of you computer scientists, ever tried to code anything as a team? Freaking nightmare, right? One really good coder is 10 times more effective than a couple of decent coders, okay? So there's an efficiency measure of an individual, which is important. What else from an entrepreneurial point of view is why is the individual so important? It's actually up on this board.
You want to capture the diversity and the skills, strengths, and weaknesses brought by each individual member.
So, and hopefully if we have a good team process, we can do that. And you're right, the diversity is important. But what do we tend to lose as a group?
You start to conform with the group.
And so what's the first thing to go?
Originality.
Originality can go, certainly.
Creativity.
Creativity can fly out the window.
Empathy.
Passion. Passion is gone. Nothing kills passion like a bunch of people saying, that sucks. Okay? And we've spent 15 years in our educational system learning how to very effectively and analytically say, that sucks, and this is why. So one of the things that we want to do is capture the creativity, passion of the individual, but draw from the diversity and the different perspectives of the group, but then make sure that we're at least introducing some of the individuality. Now the reason I pair this so clearly with entrepreneurship is great entrepreneurial ventures are not created by committee. They're really created by one person pursuing a vision, almost to the absence of other things. You get great people on board because you cannot build a great company with one person. You get great people on board to help you execute, but without sort of one person setting that crystal clear vision of where to go, it can be a problem. Okay, so divergent thinking captures what's going on with the group, but then we also have to make sure that the group is not getting too defocused, and so we kind of bring them back. And so the two tools that we're going to use today, a brainstorming, which is pretty straightforward, and all of you guys have probably done this before. How many of you have done multi-voting? As a way to sort of group process your way to refining lists of ideas. Anybody use multi-voting? Okay. So we're going to do multi-voting too, so Sabra can actually be a team leader, right? And can show everybody how to multi-vote. So now let's get back into our boxes. Okay, I love this statistic. It came from a business plan of one of my former students. And I can't remember where they got it, but I just said, can I use this graphic because I love this. This basically means that before you pee in the morning, you're checking your smartphone. Okay, within 15 minutes of just like waking up, 80% of people 18 to 40, and you guys know as well as I do, 15 minutes. Try 45 seconds, or a minute and a half tops. Right? 15 minutes is ridiculous, but that's because you've got 18 to 40 and the statistic is a little bit old. So what this leads to is a singular focus on this little box that we hold in our hands, which manifests itself in all different ways. This was one of my favorite photos that I took while in Japan in a formal garden. This was a Japanese bride getting ready for her wedding, texting. Okay, she's in full formal traditional bridal regalia and she's texting. Go to any concert, go to any group gathering. My wife is starting to have neck pain and she can't understand why. And I said, gee, I have no idea why you have neck pain. Really important, okay? But I want you guys for the next 15 minutes before you get to go eat, I want you to take yourself out of your little boxes and I want you to think retroactively. This workshop would work a lot better if I give you the intro, send you out, and then bring you back in. We don't have that. So I want you to think. And what I want you to do is individually, and I've got paper up here, I want you to individually think about your last 24, call it 48 hours, because I like the fact that we're Monday, there's a little bit of a weekend, we had some storm stuff going on, so it kind of gives you a little bit more diversity of experience. But I want you to think about the last 24 to 48 hours. And I don't want you to come up with product ideas. That's for the group to do. Individually, I want you to come up with topics or themes of things that really energized you or annoyed you. It can be anything. It can be an encounter in a food truck, a restaurant, something that happened in your dorm, anything, okay? I want everybody individually to come up with 10. So start doing this. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to come up. Just think about anything that happened in the last few days. Pass out paper. Yeah. 10 ideas, I'll put up a statement so that you can do that.
Everyone say thank you, William.
This is going to give us our topic. So, 10 things, okay? 10 occurrences. Now, because this is an individual exercise,
Who's
it
like
needs
your
it to be done in silence. Okay? So, what's cool about this room is for the next 5 minutes, actually I'm only going to give you 5 minutes. For the next 5 minutes, absolute silence, no exchange with anybody else, and I want you to think about things. I'll give you 48 hours, not just today. 10 things that you observe that either energize you, annoy you, or just stop. There's more paper. Okay, you got 5 minutes, go. All right, you're done. All right, here's what I want you to do. I want everybody to take their piece of paper. We're going to count off. And when you count off, we're just going to go 1 through, I think we've got 9, enough for 9. It's going to be a little bit larger groups, but I think we're going to be fine. So once you count off, go find your circled blue numbered board. So you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Nope, 1, 2, 3, 4,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9, 1,
2, 3, 4.
5, 6,
8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
9.
There you go.
Nice doing you. You know, like I have to like go to the board number 4. Hey, can I have that pad and do that?
8, 9, 2. All right, go find your number 4. Get there as quickly as you can.
Who's this?
We can accelerate to the food. Now there's one exercise left between you and food.
You can finish your sentence. Yeah, don't worry about it.
Number 6.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
You can still use it if you're not done. You're fine. I have 8 points. No, I have 9 points. It took forever. If you need anything else, just let me know.
And for
Oh, yeah.
4, 5, and 6, I need to hold.
Daniel, I'll miss you.
This is 6. All right, is everybody at your board? Oh, no. See, one of the great things about an active learning classroom is I don't care if your board is right next to your table. It's about blood flow, circulation. You got to be standing up. Okay? And here's what you're going to do. Make sure there's a marker by your board. Blues and blacks. blacks just tend to work better, but you're pretty close, you'll be able to see it. Okay, so now the idea is now we're going to do what's called prepare. We're going to build a list, and then we're going to multi-vote. Okay? So, what I want you to do, so we're ending up with about 7 people on a team, okay? Which is fine. So here's what I want you to do. Just go in a circle, and I want each of you to contribute one idea. Write it up on your board with a number next to it, okay? And then just go to the next person. Don't discuss the ideas. Just get enough out there so that people can put it up on the board to think about what it is and maybe relate to it themselves. Now, as you can imagine, this is going to be all over the map because we've got people coming from completely different perspectives, different schools, different experiences. This is part of the beauty of group. So all we want you to do right now is build a list of all of your groups. Now, I had you each individually come up with 10, but since we've got 7 people in a group, all I want you to do is get to 45 or 50. Okay? Hopefully you can do it in about 5 or 10 minutes. I just want a list of 50, which means you want to write them in order with a number, write them semi-neatly so you can go back and read them. But just build a list with your team going in order of 45 to 50 ideas. Okay? Now, just from experience, I can tell you the easiest way to do this is have one person be the scribe, preferably choose the person that thinks they have the neatest handwriting. And then each of you go in order. Just say your idea. No discussion. Go to the next person. Say an idea. Now, you do not have to read your ideas in order. Your 8th idea may have been your favorite. Bring that one to the top. If somebody's idea that came before you, you thought was really interesting, but you've got a different related idea, you can use that instead. So you can add new ones. Okay? So, 5 minutes, I want 40 ideas, go!
Are these ideas or things that are
No product concepts, these are just experiences that you had, topics, themes.
Why discriminate happens?
Let's just start writing.
Okay, no problem. Like, can we just make a little like arrow by it so no one's good or bad? Alright, it's pretty awesome. Why don't we go after? Like after that idea, then we go let's get the idea. Okay. Not idea. My bike block is too long. Sorry. I think we should move the music so don't put it in. Pick it up. Go ahead. Idea. Waiting in line.
Alright, everybody stop. Stop what you're doing right now, listen to me really quickly. Okay, so a couple of things, right? First of all is, you're about to find out what happens when you improvise. So, how many groups began to split and had multiple people writing on the list? Okay? So, and it's fine, but now you'll find out sort of the implications of what happens with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, because I want to make sure that, is the food here yet? It's not here yet? It should be, but it's not. No, they promised you food. They'll get food. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. Hang on one second. So I'm going to explain to you multi-voting, right? And then I'm basically going to sort of jump ahead a little bit and tell you what the next steps would be and why we do those next steps. But we're probably not going to do it. But if you do want to come back with your group and do it, I'm happy to facilitate that. Okay? So a couple of things that you learned right now. First of all, how many of you, somebody put something up and you're like, wow, that's cool, I never thought about that. Or when I was coming up with my topics or themes, I wasn't even thinking in that direction. Did anybody have one of those experiences? Okay? So this is the benefit of bringing the group together. Did anybody have common experiences? Okay? This is naturally going to happen because you guys live in the fishbowl that we have come to know and love as Penn. And our fishbowl has a lot of common characteristics to it, so your box is very common in a lot of ways. Okay, so we've done this, we've listed the ideas, and I'm going to kind of skip ahead and show you that we built this list, and the next part that we do is called multi-voting. And the idea behind this is to now capture the preferences of the individual, but allow the group process to help us reduce it. So the idea behind multi-voting is you will all individually examine this list of who's got the most ideas. I've got 30 here. You have more than 30?
39.
41. 41. Who beat 41? We have 43. We got 43. How many people were writing for yours? Yeah, okay. So that's why you got that so many. But here's what multi-voting is, okay? And I would like you guys to go through this before you go to food. So what your ticket to go get food for your team is for you to come up and give me your team's best idea. I'm not going to tell you what best means, or best, not idea, theme, best topic, whatever you want to call this list, okay? So here's what I want you guys to do. As individuals, you've got a sheet of paper, and I've got more paper if you want. I want you to go through your list, and I want you to choose half plus one of your list. So if you have 32 items on your list, you're going to choose 17. Okay? If you've got 20 items on your list, you're going to choose 11. Divide the number of items by 2, add 1. If you've got an odd number of items, go for the half plus 1, or the higher number anyway. And I want you to choose those ideas which you as an individual think are best. Okay, just the ones that you as an individual think are best. All I want you to do is write those numbers down on the sheet of paper. Okay? And then what you're going to do is, as a group, and I got to tell you, no matter how many ways and times people try to improve on this process, the best way to do it is, once everybody has voted for their half plus 1 numbers, then somebody's going to say, how many people voted for number 1? Raise your hands really high. Count. Since we've got a team of 7, I'm gonna make you have 5 votes to keep it on the list. Okay? Which is going to dramatically pare this down. Normally we just do if it's got 3 or more votes and you go through multiple rounds. We're just going to get for the ones that everybody sort of really resonates with people. So we're going to go 5. Once you get those, if you've got 5 people, right, or 5 or more, actually we've got 7, so let's go 4 people. If you've got 4 or more people that vote for that item, it stays on the list. If you have 3 or fewer people, you cross it off or erase it. Okay? Then once you go through that round, you go through again, you see how many numbers there are, and you do that same process until you basically get down to 2 or 3 ideas, and then you as a group come up with the 1. Okay? That's the multi-voting process. And what that does is it captures the process of the group, but it's the group reacting to individual preferences. Okay? So it's an interesting process. Now, I'll tell you what ends up happening with that. This is where you lose the passion of the individual. So this is where somebody's favorite idea that they like more than anything else gets killed. And they're demoralized. And they withdraw from the group and they say this is all bogus. Okay? This is where it happens. This is where the group beats the life out of the individuals. So one of the things that we try to do when we get these teams together is look for other ways that we can remain engaged and remain energized. Okay? Now, normally what we would do if you wanted to stay past the food part is we then take your one theme, okay, the theme here, and we have you come up with 140 product ideas that relate to the theme. Why 140? And by the way, that's 140 each person. Right? And then we do a whole multi-voting. Why 140?
It's enough to get rid of all the bad ideas, I guess?
No. On the contrary. It actually is all-inclusive of the bad ideas. Right?
Because a lot of times we think incrementally, and some of our later ideas build on our earlier ideas and get better and better as we go through the process.
And you start tearing down at all of the sort of structures and the limitations that you have. Because, I mean, quite frankly, and nobody ever gets to 140. It's a random number. But it's a number that, and this is the way it normally goes, you get 10 like that. Then you struggle to get to 20. Then you really struggle to get to 25. And then you say, oh, the hell with it. And you just start throwing out crazy stuff. But that's where some of the really interesting things come into play. And that's where some of the really interesting after stuff happens. We're not on time for that. So all I want you to do is use multi-voting to come up with your team's best idea. Give me that idea and you can go. So, I'm going to put this up. Is everybody clear? Is everybody clear on how this works?
Number one.
What next? I love spending a day with someone who cares about us. Just like someone.
2 minutes. You gotta get to 45 or 50. You got your 16? I mean, your, 16? You individually did your 16 and now you're voting? Do yourselves a favor, just erase it if it doesn't get the votes. Here, I'll give you an erase. It makes the next round much easier. There you go, just erase it. So, you guys are going to be much better off if you literally erase the ones that...
Like, can we also get a hand from Professor Babineau?